This week on the John Dulong Show, I'm actually not going to do a little intro bit here. This little section I'm going to reserve for imploring you to head on over to bestofhalifax.com. Go on down to the news and media section and make sure that you vote for Elwood City Limits as the best podcast. There is just 1 week remaining in the voting. Voting goes until September the 15th. Let's get Will and Lucas onto that old Best of Halifax list for 2018. And let's hear the music. All right, a little backstage, behind the scenes action for you right here at the top of the show. It is, as I'm recording this right now, 11:08 a.m. on the Friday that the show goes live. I have about an hour and a half to record, edit, post, prepare this show in general. This is probably the closest margins that I've ever dealt with on this show. It's entirely my own fault. I realistically should have been working on this show yesterday, but instead I decided to play Super Mario RPG. So welcome to the John Dulong Show. Welcome to episode number 44. Welcome to your weekly dose of the Friday afternoon fiesta, Friday afternoon fun times. I'm John Dulong. Come on in, take a seat. Hope that you're having a great week. Hope that everything is going swell for you. And like I said at the top of the show, please, please, please make sure that you go on over to bestofhalifax.com. Help out our good friends Will and Lucas in their quest to become the best podcast in Halifax. Honestly, I'm just so proud of those guys for even getting nominated. I think that that's really great. And honestly, the groundswell of support that they, I'm sure, are getting, it should make them both very, very proud. But if they were able to win the whole darn shebang, that would be pretty phenomenal. Speaking of pretty phenomenal, we're into September, and I'm having a pretty phenomenal little run here. I recently did. Actually, you know what? We're gonna do this. Hey Google, how many days between now and November 30th?
84 days.
So that's 84 days until I am done classes, which is terrifying. I kind of realized I'm less than 100 days away, and it wasn't until I actually hit September until I actually realized, oh yeah, that's 3 months. So we're under 100. And then I was playing with the Google Home, and 84 days to go, which was just like bananas. How quickly this year has gone. Like 2018 has just zoomed by, and also just sort of the last 12 months or so, because we are coming up pretty close on the 1 year anniversary of the John Dulong Show. Like you say, this is episode 44. It's 45th week of the show, so it's getting there. It's getting there. We're gonna have a few exciting things to do in the last few weeks of the show, as we. Well, not the last few weeks of the show. The last few weeks of the first year of the show. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere, because this is kind of my personal journal. It's my blog in podcast form, and I really enjoy doing it. So, and I'm glad that you enjoy listening. Anyhow, like I said, we've got some exciting things on the go, on the come up, in the next couple of weeks. I haven't confirmed 100% with all of those guests, so I won't tease anybody in particular, because that just seems like a recipe for hurt feelings. But I'm hoping to get some friends of the show back on to do sort of second appearances. Maybe some new guests, some very special new guests. We'll see. And I've got something in mind. I have for my last. I got to stop saying last for the 1 year anniversary of the show, for what will be episode 52. I decided episode 51 will be a look back at the show. I'll be compiling that over the next little while, sort of a kind of a best of, but there will be new material. It'll be worth listening to, I promise. As worth listening to as any other episode of the show is, I suppose. The episode 52. got something very special in mind for that. I just need to see if I can get all my ducks in a row on it. Other podcast type news. Talked last week about the possibility of bringing in ads on the show. Like I say, Spreaker, the podcast provider that I use, is offering Canadians ads monetization at long last. I haven't 100% decided how I'm going to handle this. If I'm going to put ads in the show, I am leaning towards doing that. I'm just sort of double checking to make sure that the music that I'm using is okay to use commercialization. I believe I can turn off ads on particular episodes if I choose to. I haven't really played around with it yet. What I can tell you is we're probably not going to do mid-rolls just because those are very... I find those, like, in the podcasts I listen to, they can be very jarring, especially if it's not the host actually doing a live read. If it's just a mid-roll ad, kind of like you would get on YouTube, I find it a little bit jarring. So... I mean, the one thing that I will say about this is, like, I'm a little bit hesitant to put ads on the show just simply because there are some ads that I hear on podcasts that I listen to that drive me up the wall. And I would be so upset if those annoying-ass Circle K ads that are advertising the big weekend, if those ended up on my show, I would be just so disgusted with myself. I wouldn't know what to do. Anywho, that's gonna do it for this. We're gonna have a week where I'm actually gonna talk about the President of the United States, just because it's been a hot minute since I have, and well, there's some stuff going on in the news that is interesting enough, and I've got some thoughts. So after this, the White House, I suppose. Well, it's comforting that in these, uncertain times, that there are certain traditions, I guess, that are continuing on despite absolutely everything about these crazy times. And this week coming, we're getting the first Bob Woodward book about the Trump White House. Of course, Bob Woodward, famous for reporting on Watergate. The book apparently details pretty much, what we expect. That the Trump White House is a chaotic place, that Donald Trump is a racist, incompetent old man with probably the mental acuity of a fourth grader, and that people around him are routinely mocked by him, and that he is every single one of the worst assumptions that we have about him. That's not really what I'm going to talk about. Obviously, the book is not out yet. There's been a few leaks in terms of, controlled leaks, unlike the leaks that happen in the Trump White House. But, there's been a few leaks of the book, but it has not yet been released. It is going to be out this coming Tuesday. Oh, geez, September the 11th. And should be a good read. The thing about Bob Woodward is that you trust that he is writing things that he has sourced very, very well. You trust the journalistic rigor of his reporting, and that's a book that I will try to get my hands on. It's one of those things where I don't have a whole lot of money for book expenditures right at the minute, and I do have the last book that I bought myself was the of course Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. I have not yet finished, so That'll be next on the list of of books that I want to read. I found myself and this is off topic entirely. I found myself sort of gravitating towards narrative nonfiction rather than fiction. I don't know what that says or what that says about me or whatever, but it seems to be the sort of thing that I enjoy reading more and more as I guess I grow older. I don't like that. I don't like the way that I phrase that for myself. Yikes. Anyhow, back to Donald Trump, because if that wasn't bad news enough, the Woodward book coming out soon. There was, of course, that op-ed in the pages of the New York Times. This is one of the things I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of, at least to some degree. I assume anyhow. If you haven't, the New York Times published an anonymous opinion piece this past week on I guess it was Wednesday. Sort of a rare step by the Times to actually publish an anonymous op-ed piece, basically from and I'm quoting here, a senior White House official, from the New York Times itself. The Times taking a rare step, publishing an anonymous op-ed essay. We've done so at the request of the author, a senior official in the Trump administration, whose identity is known to us and whose job would be jeopardized by its disclosure. Little editor's note here: no shit. We believe that publishing this essay anonymously is the only way to deliver an important perspective to our readers. We invite you to submit a question about the essay or your vetting process here, and there is a link there to that. So basically, it is an essay that basically is saying, don't worry, there are adults in the room. There are people who are trying to steer President Trump away from his more destructive tendencies towards some degree of moderation. A couple of things that I find particularly interesting from this, and one thing that I have to say about it in summation. The indication of a senior White House official is interesting to me, because that doesn't really mean anything. Senior administration official within the federal government is not really a title. Describing somebody with that moniker is kind of just saying it's not the water boy, but it's also not it could be anyone from the undersecretary for agriculture to the vice president. You know what I mean? It could be it's such a wide range of you don't really know who it is. A lot of people are saying, based on some of the language, that it might have been the vice president. I think that is batty, because Mike Pence is, while a more savvy politician than Trump is, he is no kinder, no gentler, and no more sane. Mike Pence is the guy who wrote and spoke an essay decrying Mulan as a threat to the children of the United States. So, that is what it is. I think it's interesting that it was posted in the New York Times, though. I think that was very much a pointed decision, because if there's one media organization that Trump derides in the print world more than the New York Times, I don't know what it is. Highly suggest that you go and take a listen to The Daily. It's the New York Times daily podcast. It was, I guess, Thursday morning's episode where they go through with the op-ed's editor to discuss sort of the implications of publishing an anonymous essay, how they came to the decision, how they got in touch with this, or how this person got in touch with them rather, why they decided to print it, all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting listen, and I do highly recommend it. Here's the one thing that I will say about this, is in sort of, like I said, in sort of a summation point of view. this senior White House official saying that we're doing what we can